Just hear those sleigh bells jingling, ring, ting, tingling too. Come on, it's lovely weather for a sleigh ride together with you.
Hey everyone, Happy New Year! Welcome to my weekly messages. I'm Jelaila Star. So, I sent out a message last week. I didn't do a YouTube video on it, but it was called the Galactic Alignment. Are you prepared, or something like that? Anyway, it talked about the alignment that was supposed to have happened the 23rd through the 25th, and it would be where this our sun would line up with the central sun of our star system, which is the Pleiades, so the central sun is Alcyone, which then would also line up with the central sun of our galaxy, which is Sirius, and that as it's like they're lining up on the finish line or at the start line. Probably it's the same thing. And so it would be a completion of a galactic cycle, a precession of the equinoxes, which I guess is a galactic cycle, and then a completion of a universal cycle, which is a 225 million year cycle. So all of these cycles are ending at the same time and starting new. And at that time, we were supposedly crossing the galactic equator into that field of energy that many people know as the galactic superwave, or also known as the photon band. And this energy is very high vibration, very pro-evolutionary, and it would seem to accelerate everything. Whatever we think, it would accelerate our thoughts and the manifestation of our thoughts, good and bad. So anyway, at that time, supposedly the planet, which is already slowing down, which is why we experience time speeding up, would stop, and there would be, some people say, and the ancients say, 3 days of darkness. Well, as I wrote in last week's message, I said I didn't get 100%, that it would be an actual occurrence, or that would be, if it did, it would be 3 days of darkness. I felt it could be less. It could also be 3 days of dusk or 3 days of pre-dawn, depending on what part of the world is facing the sun at the time. And but I was supposed to send out the alert. I got real clear I was supposed to send out the alert. And in so doing, I also sent out a link to a video that was given to me 3 times. That's the 3. If you get it 3 times, you're supposed to pay attention. So I went and I watched the video. Amazing. It's funny, but this guy really pulled everything together and explained what's going on. And so a link to back up this whole universal cycle, which the Mayans talked about and everybody else talked about. Anyway, there were no 3 days of darkness. I got hammered by people so upset. What do you mean the world's going to stop and turn in the opposite direction? There's going to be 3 days. What are you talking about? Anyway, that we didn't have 3 days of darkness. We know that. The world did not appear to stop. We know that. But something happened. Now, the completion of a universal cycle is still a completion of a universal cycle, and a galactic cycle, they're ending. There's really no dispute about that. But how it occurred is what's the big issue. People think, well, nothing occurred. Yet, on the other hand, there are people like myself who felt something was going on. I mean, this whole holiday season from near the beginning of December all the way through now, I didn't really get into the whole Christmas thing. I didn't decorate this year. I decorate every year. I didn't get into buying presents. I did all my shopping on Black Friday online and went out and I was done. But I didn't go to a lot of parties like, I'm usually invited to a lot of parties and I didn't. I went to one party this year. One. And my birthday occurs in this time and I didn't want to go anywhere. My daughter said, well, let's go do something. I'm like, no, let's stay home, order Chinese and watch a movie. So we did. I just wanted to cocoon this whole time and sleep and sleep and sleep and sleep and sleep. Oh my God, I slept so much. And it just felt like I felt like I was moving through no time. I was like in this surreal dreamscape. And And I went out a couple of times during this whole time. I went to the grocery store, and then one time I got a little cabin fever, and I bundled up the dogs and I put them in the back seat because it's really cold here. So you can't do any doggy walks. So I said, well, we'll go out and we'll just go drive around. So I did that. And the whole world is going on. And yet I'm still in this state of surreal, surrealness. It's like, no, what's going on? So the question was, well, what happened? Anyway, I tuned in. Said, okay, first of all, what happened? Second, why did you want me to send this out? And, what's going on? So here's what I got. And I thought I'd share it with you. You decide what you want to do with it. What the ancients said about the 3 days of darkness and the cataclysms and all that stuff, that was based on their reality and what their ancestors had experienced. Now, mind you, their ancestors would have gone through a galactic cycle, but they would not have gone through a universal cycle because humanity has not been around on the planet long enough to experience a universal cycle. So they can only write from their perspective, and they can only predict for us based on what they've experienced. So that's one of the first things I got, is that we wanted you to understand, they wanted us to understand, that we are in a unique time. We have all these cycles within cycles ending. And they wanted us to understand that the past, the ancient writings are really to act as a gauge or a measuring stick for how far we have come. They said, if you are successful in your missions, if you are successful in shifting your planet, then this will be an easier transition than what your ancestors experienced. It will be so subtle. Yes, you're going to have a few earth changes, but they will not be catastrophic. There will not be a pole flip. There will not be a big pole shift. And even back in 96, they said, what we want you to experience is a very minor transition, an easier transition, and Nibiru's occurrence in the solar system to only act as a catalyst for change. In other words, we know it's coming, we find out it's coming, so we do our clearing. So it would act as a consciousness change, and we would just experience it as a bright star in the sky. And so far, that's what we've experienced. And if this galactic alignment did occur, and all these endings did end, and we are truly in a period of no time, then guess what that means? That means we have been successful. Because here we are, at the end of 2012, we're all still here. Yes, we've had some earthquakes. Yes, there's been some devastation. But California is still above the ocean floor, above the ocean waves. So is the Northeast coast, which was supposed to have gone under, by the way. Japan is still up. Isn't that amazing? The Nibiruans were saying that Japan may not make it. Well, that was what the timeline showed back when they made that statement. But there's a chance if we keep doing our work, Japan will remain intact. We just got to keep clearing. Even though we have crossed the galactic equator into the no time zone, which is what it feels like we've done. That's how I experience it right now. We still have clearing work to do, and we still have a way to impact whatever changes we could have had as far as Earth changes. So we can still keep Japan above the waves, and we can still keep New Zealand, more of New Zealand above the waves, because Nibiru comes in from the south, from the southern hemisphere. So it's getting the big whack, if you will, of any Earth changes, not the northern hemisphere. So the more we do of our clearing now, even though we're past that crossing the line stage, the more we can make certain that the rest of the world stays intact. So that this can be a very easy transition. And then when we write our records for the future generations, we can say, well, back then they had a cataclysm, but we did this, this, and this, and we made it easier. So here you go. You can minimize yours when these changes and these cycles occur and these flybys of planets, that create havoc. You can do it, and we are proof. Okay. So I experienced something. I'm experiencing something. I don't know what you experienced. You tell me what you experienced. And we'll see what the astronomers say. And I'm waiting to get that information about did all the planets actually line up. And if they did, you know what? Pat ourselves on the back. We did it. Look forward to some really great changes. Supposedly, the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, is putting the world back on a gold standard tomorrow, January 1st. What that means is physical cliff in the United States will be over. And all of that debating and all that arguing was just political posturing to delay until this reset occurs. So we're going to have a global financial reset supposedly tomorrow. So then you just watch. It'll be like a house of dominoes. You know, they're just going to all fall. The systems will deconstruct and reconstruct in a new way. It's going to be an amazing 2013. And I am so grateful to be here and to be able to have experienced the shift of a lifetime. So, Happy New Year. Love you all. Big hugs to you all. And talk to you next year.
Let's take the road before us and sing a chorus or two. Come on, it's lovely weather for a sleigh ride together with you.